So these are the 7 books that I want to read in the next 24 hours. Why did I say hours like that? I don't know. And yeah, I am currently at like 93 books read this year. And honestly, I stopped reading in the last month to like get organized for the new year. So like I've been reading big books, but I haven't been really reading like, you know, many small books or whatnot. So I figured that I will just like read my smaller books towards the end of the month, just so that I can reach the 100 mark. It doesn't really matter, honestly. I'm not really like pressed or stressed about it. The most important thing to me now is to actually like review the books. But since these are so small, like I could just read and review the books as I go, so it doesn't really matter too much. Some of these books I've really been wanting to read this year, so I'm just gonna go through them quickly. The first 2 books are really short. They are actually short stories. So I have Mr. Salary by Sally Rooney, because you guys know I love Sally Rooney. I also have Fox 8 by George Saunders. I have yet to read something by George Saunders, so I figured why not read one short story by him and then pick up his collection in the new year. I have Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. I've only heard great things about this book. If I get to read this book today, I'm going to be watching the movie. That's something that's manageable and doable, and then I'll quickly review both the book and movie. I also want to read this book. It's called As a Man Thinketh, and it's just like a short philosophy book on being and thinking, so I think this is going to be pretty quick to read as well. I have The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley. I also want to read this one. Basically, some of these are just very straightforward. This one is about his experience with psychedelics. He wrote a lot about psychedelics. Small Things Like These is set in like Ireland, and it says it's 1985 in a small Irish town. During the weeks leading up to Christmas, Bill Furlong, a coal merchant and family man, faces into his busiest season. Early one morning, while delivering an order to the local convent, Bill makes a discovery which forces him to confront both his past and the complicit silences of a town controlled by the church. So yeah, I just think that this is going to be a wonderful book. I really cannot wait to watch the adaptation with Cillian Murphy. I also have this one. It's A Grief Observed by C.S. Lewis. I am collecting and reading books about grief, and I will make a future video. I write a lot about grief in my novels, and like not necessarily like the passing of a loved one, but also just not being able to recognize people anymore, or like separating with people. Like I think grief is all encompassing, so this is one that I want to read. And of course I have to read a writing book, and this is called In the Margins by Elena Ferrante, and I heard only great things about this book, and I've been wanting to read it since I got it, so I feel like if I don't read it now, I'll never get to it. And as you guys know, I love talking about writing. I love reading authors on writing, so I feel like I'm going to be able to get through all of these books because they just are so up my alley and they sound so good. So yeah, these are the 7 books I'm trying to read in this little short vlog, and hopefully I'll get to actually watch the movie as well. And yeah, we're like December 30th, so I'm really doing this like last minute. Yeah, that's the intro. That's the long intro of all the books that I'm going to read. Now it's time to read them. It's time to get on with my day, and I'll update as I go along.
A man should conceive a legitimate purpose in his heart and set out to accomplish it. He should make this purpose the centralizing point of his thoughts. It may take the form of a spiritual ideal, or it may be a worldly object, according to his nature at the time being. But whichever it is, he should steadily focus his thought forces upon the object which he has set before him. He should make this purpose his supreme duty. He who does this has become a conscious and intelligent wielder of his mental powers.
So I finished the first book. It's called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. It was pretty good. It was really short. It took me like half an hour. I did mark some passages, but this one was my favorite. It says, "You will be what you will be. Let failure find its false content in that poor word environment. But spirit scorns it and is free. It masters time, it conquers space, it cows that boastful trickster chance, and bids the tyrant circumstance uncrown and fill a servant's place. The human will, that force unseen, the offspring of a deathless soul, can hew a way to any goal, through walls of granite intervene. Be not impatient in delay, but wait as one who understands. When spirit rises and commands, the gods are ready to obey." I really enjoyed that passage, but it was basically the only passage that was clearly written that way. But it was a good book. It was a good reminder that we are the thoughts that we have, we are the actions that we do, despite our circumstances and despite what we believe of ourselves to be, we could always change. And I think it's a good reminder. If you like quick philosophy books, you'll enjoy this. If you're an advanced philosophy reader or self-help reader, probably this one you can skip over, but it's a good reminder. Honestly, it's a good pocket book. So now I'm gonna have like my breakfast, lunch, and then I'm going to take a walk, and then maybe I'm going to do some more reading. I'm trying to loosely follow a schedule, but I kind of ruined it today because I woke up late, but it's fine. Every day is going to get better. So I'm trying to go through my schedule. So now it's my eating window, so I'm going to cook, eat, clean, and then I'm going to go for my walk outside. It stopped raining, thank God. It's been raining for the last 24 hours. I don't know what the hell is going on. So like half of the snow has already melted. So as long as it's not raining, I should be fine. I'll just bundle up and take a quick walk outside. And yeah. I feel like I'm blurring into the background. Like I'm matching with the background. Okay, so it's later now. This is my hot water bottle. I never use this. It's always here. I should use it. Oh my god. This is so soft. So smooth. Okay, I might actually fill this up because I'm kind of cold. I went on my walk. I read A Grief Observed. I did not record reading this or my walk because, you know, sometimes you just don't feel like pressing record. I like this, but like maybe I need to revisit it at some point when I need it, because it wasn't like, I don't know, it was like very rambly, and it was about also like a lot to do with God and where's God in grief and in death. And I don't know, just not the mood, you know. It's very depressing in some ways. Okay, let's see if I have a passage. I have highlighted a few passages. It is hard to have patience with people who say there is no death or death doesn't matter. There is death, and whatever is matters, and whatever happens has consequences, and it and they are irrevocable and irreversible. You might as well say that birth doesn't matter. I look up at the night sky. Is anything more certain than that in all those vast times and spaces, if I were allowed to search them, I should nowhere find her face, her voice, her touch. She died, she is dead. Is the word so difficult to learn? So basically it's a C.S. Lewis talking about the passing of his wife and how much he loves her, and how no image, no thing, no concept can actually like make him feel better while he's going through this grief. And he's also really questioning God. Not that he's losing his faith, but it's just like he doesn't know how to place everything together. And I find that super fascinating. And I find the story of C.S. Lewis also fascinating because it says he was hold on a minute, let me find a page. It says that he came to Christ first by being atheist, then by being agnostic, and then after by being theist, which led him to Christianity. And I remember learning something about C.S. Lewis going from like atheist to Christian, whereas Tolkien, his friend, did the reversal of that, which I find super fascinating, and I would love to like learn more about both figures. I have yet to read Tolkien, but I have read one of the Narnia books by Lewis, and I obviously grew up watching the Narnia movies. I love those movies, so I really want to get into that. Maybe something for the new year. Maybe I will read some C.S. Lewis. I definitely want to read The Lord of the Rings, but I want to finish other series before picking that up, if that makes sense. Also, earlier this year, I watched this movie called Surprised by Oxford, and I had no idea what the movie would be about, except that this girl goes to Oxford, and it's actually based on a real professor and her real journey. And I think C.S. Lewis is like part of her dissertation. So yeah, it says the movie is based on a book by Caroline Reber and describes her experiences in Oxford University in the early 1990s. The film begins with young Carol's world turning upside down when she learns that her father has been living a double life. After he is arrested, Carol's mother must work to raise her alone. Carol develops a fierce independence and a skeptical view of fate and religion. She is determined to focus on her academic career and is portrayed as someone who places intellectual pursuits above personal or spiritual ones. Kara receives an undergraduate scholarship and then a scholarship to Oxford University for her PhD. As she settles into her new environment, she meets Kent Weber, a sensitive, charming fellow student who is committed to his fate. Anyways, long story short, it's a Christian movie in some ways, but it's also a movie set in Oxford. Actually, you know what? I'm not a religious person, and honestly, I don't have any gripes with religion. I've had some bad experiences growing up, but like for me, I understand that both religion has its place, but it also can be weaponized, but it also can like be traumatic as well. So for me, it's just like, don't tell me what I should do, what I should believe in, and I won't tell you what you should do, what you should believe in, while still understanding like there are different faiths and different religions and whatnot. So I actually found myself kind of enjoying the movie, but it doesn't mean that like I'm gonna go and become Christian. So it was very interesting because like the main character of that movie gets challenged in that way, and she ends up, you know, Christian. But is that a spoiler? I don't think it's a spoiler because it's pretty much a Christian movie. And yeah, that was a rant and a half about C.S. Lewis and Christianity. Let's go to the next book that I want to read. I want to read Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. And then I want to watch the movie, and then I'm going to resume more reading. I'm cold. I need to like warm up. So I did make a tea and I forgot that I made one. This should be so good. It's like a decaf pumpkin spice tea. So I'm going to have that. I'm going to start reading, and then I will come back and update my impressions. Okay, Small Things Like These was amazing, and I don't want to tell you anything. I mean, I gave the blurb earlier. Sometimes it's good to be reminded that it's all about the writing. It's really simply truly all about the writing. Like a short book novella like this can be so poignant and impactful. I'm going to read you one of the passages that I underlined, and this is not really a spoiler. It's mostly the main character, what he's thinking, and how he is like witnessing and feeling the month of December, the celebrations, the holidays, you know. And it's funny that I was talking about A Grief Observed and C.S. Lewis that has to do with like Christian faith and whatnot, because in this one we're very much in it with like, you know, mass, Christmas mass, and Protestant and the church and a convent with nuns. So here the passage says, "Before long, He caught a hold of himself and concluded that nothing ever did happen again. To each was given days and chances which wouldn't come back around. And wasn't it sweet to be where you were and let it remind you of the past for once? Despite the upset, instead of always looking on into the mechanics of the days and the trouble ahead, which might never come. I really enjoy this one, and I will definitely be rereading it maybe next year during the Christmas time to remind myself the importance of like basically being a good human being, if that makes sense. So yeah, Silas agrees. He supports this message. I'm definitely going to be watching the movie now tonight. I don't know if I want to read something. I think I might run and read one more thing, then watch the movie because it's about like an hour and a half long. And yeah, then continue reading and call it a day, basically. Hello. Hi. Hi. I know I left for like 2 hours to go read. You took my spot. Are you ready to watch movie? Mimi. Good afternoon. I'm here to close off the reading vlog that I started yesterday. I don't know if you guys ever see me with my ponytail, but I will just say that my hair has grown out. Finally, my bangs, oh my god, it was a nightmare to grow them out. Every year I say I'm never gonna get bangs again. Then I get them. Then it takes months to grow out, and it's so annoying, especially when it comes to like the midpoint or the sides here. But you know, crisis averted. It's gone, and I'm never cutting my bangs in that manner ever again. Maybe not ever, but like not for the next few years. Enough rambling. Let's get back to the books and the reading vlog. So I did manage to read 7 books, and I did manage to read them within 12 hours yesterday, so basically in half a day. I started around noon and I finished around midnight. And in between, I did watch the movie Small Things Like These. I did, you know, do my other stuff like go on a walk, etc. And film and edit and do other little things. So that's not too bad. I think in total it took me about 4 or 5 hours to read all these books. I will say I switched one of these books out. Instead of reading The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley, I didn't really feel like reading something about psychedelics yesterday. I read Heartstopper Volume 5 because I've been meaning to read it. I really enjoyed it, so I'm really happy that I picked this up instead. Like, this is like a comfort read, and I feel so close to the characters and I relate to them so much as a bisexual person. And I cannot believe that we're gonna get only one more volume 6, and then it's gonna be done. But at least we have all these volumes, and there's the TV show. I did not watch the latest season, which is season 3 that just came out, so I will be doing that at a future date. Yesterday I did review As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. Then I reviewed A Grief Observed by C.S. Lewis. I reviewed Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan, and then I watched a movie. I love the movie. Cillian Murphy, Emily Watson, Mark McKenna, all fantastic actors, and I love their work. Obviously, I was actually shocked to see Emily Watson because, as you guys know, I love Doom Prophecy, so when I saw her, I like squealed. I was like, no way she's in this. So then after that, before that actually, I read Mr. Salary by Sally Rooney. This is like a short story, and funnily enough, it's actually set during the Christmas holidays. This was really good. I really enjoyed it. I can't believe like Sally Rooney is so masterful that in less than like 40 pages, I actually like felt something for the main character and can relate to her. The main character is very Marianne coded, so if you like that, you'll love this short story. Then I read Fox 8 by George Saunders. It's a short story as well. I was so blown away by this because what do you mean that this is from a fox perspective, and he's talking about humans, which are humans, and how we are cruel beings but also kind beings, and it was just so deeply like reflective. Like the first like 5 pages I was like laughing out loud, and then it got like really dark and I was like sad, and then I was like sad but laughing sad. I don't know. And the other thing is that because it's written from the perspective of a fox that is, you know, encountering like modern day development and like, you know, a new mall in his what would be once his home. Okay, it's also written in a way that like a non-human or a non-English speaker would try to like write out words. So it's like dear reader, it's like dear and reader with like double E, and it just goes on the whole story like that. You have to get used to it and like sound out some of the words, and it's just so masterful, and I love that. And I cannot wait to read more George Saunders in the upcoming year. I have some of his short stories, I have some of his novels, so I'm all set for that. And also I've been following his Substack in the last like 6 to 8 months. I just love the way he talks about writing. I just love the way he talks about stories and about people. So yeah, that was what I read. And then I also read In the Margins by Elena Ferrante. Do you guys ever find it weird when you are researching something or learning something or deciding to do something and then you read a book right in that same moment and the book has to do with that thing or like mentions that thing? I always find that so fucking weird. This happens to me like at least once a month, if not once a week, because I read a lot. In this one, she like does talk about Dante and Dante's depiction of Beatrice, and I just found it so interesting. It's like short talks about writing and about the other, between, you know, like a woman writing about the other woman in some way. I'm not explaining this correctly, but for those who have read her Neapolitan portrait, you might understand what I'm saying. But she gave this example between Gertrude Stein and Alice B. Toklas, and it's so funny because I have that book when I was doing my research for the French Riviera, and I want to read that book. So it's basically, I think it's a biography of Alice B. Toklas, but it's written by Gertrude Stein, and in that biography, Gertrude Stein explores the lens of Alice B. Toklas, her lover, her partner, her critique partner. She explores Alice B. Toklas' life, but in that life, she's looking at Gertrude Stein all the time, if that makes any sense. It's basically like The Great Gatsby, where Nick is always talking about Gatsby. Anyways, very interesting, very fascinating. I really cannot wait to read that biography in the summertime. Unfortunately, I have not read anything else by Elena Ferrante, so I did not gain as much insights because she was talking about her novels and her series. And the reason why I was going wild with the synchronicity of her talking about Dante is because I literally placed an order yesterday morning for a nice collection of Dante's Divine Comedy, like a whole bind up of all 3 books in the hardback Everyman collection. And I want to read like a canto a week because I like subscribe to this newsletter and they're discussing Dante, and I was like, you know what, I read Dante's Inferno when I was in undergrad. That was like when I was 18, 19. I was so young. I don't think I got as much out of it as I was supposed to, even though we studied it, and I don't remember much of it. So yeah, I feel like now, like almost a decade later, it's time for me to revise Dante. And another thing that you guys might not have known about me is that back in 2020, when I was finishing my master's in French, I would take like an hour, 2-hour break every day and try to learn Italian. And I really want to go back to learning languages. I'm just trying to find a pocket of time at some point. This year I was doing like 6 months, 8 months of Duolingo, but you know what? At some point I realized that doing just 5 minutes of Duolingo a day is not going to help me. It's not going to like make me learn a language. And I was doing that for learning German, but I really do want to go back to learning language. I want to go back and learn Farsi, how to read and write. I know how to speak it mostly and I know how to understand it, but I'm kind of losing it because I've been out of practice. I don't have that many Persian friends anymore, so I want to get back to a habit of listening Persian and, you know, talking in Persian and learning how to read and write in Persian. And then maybe I want to go to Italian, and then maybe I want to go to German. But that's a lot of plans for someone who knows 2.5 languages. I really do need to put my head into something. I'm so tired of starting projects without like putting my full focus. So for now, that's on pause. But maybe reading Dante will make me want to, at some point in the mid-year or in the summertime, want to like learn Italian. I definitely want to learn Latin and Greek. Fun fact, in my undergrad, my first year of undergrad, again, we're talking like almost a decade ago, I took a Latin and Greek in scientific terms class, and it was so hard, and I was so overwhelmed because, you know, when you're in the first year, you take so many classes from different disciplinary, so I could not maintain that class for the life of me, and I was very severely depressed. I will one day go through my whole like story of my academic years, but not now. Maybe when I'm writing my auto fiction book about those years again. But what did I want to say? Yeah, I had to drop that class because it was way too hard. Everyone was getting like 15-20% on their papers, and this was like long before I read and discovered The Secret History, you know? So I always regret never sticking with that course. I mean, I have the booklet, but it's not going to help me. I don't know how to learn from it, but I definitely want to learn Latin and Greek. I know like for some people it feels like a foolish endeavor, but for us writers and readers, nothing is ever foolish, especially when it comes to language and cultures and learning and traveling and reading and writing. So yeah, that was a little ramble, but I hope you guys enjoy. I think I love the fact that I read all these books in one day because it had me thinking about so many different things. And I think I should do this more often because I used to be the type of person that would read like from 5-10 different books at a time, and then I found that I was losing the plot a little bit. But if they're small books like these and you just get to like read one after the other, you start to make like connections and you start to think about your own personal life or your own novels, and you're like, oh wait a minute, like I have not thought about this in this way, or I forgot that I really enjoyed this thing, or I really enjoyed learning about this thing. So yeah, these were the 7 books. I did accomplish the challenge. I did not, you know, record the rest of it because it was getting late at night and the lighting is just horrible. I wrote it down here, everything that I read. So like I said, it was like 4 hours worth of reading around. I will read this at another time when I feel like it. Right now I don't feel like it. And yeah, I have officially read 100 books in 2024, and I'm very proud of that number because I read really good books. I read some really big books. I think like at least 10 or 15 of those books were in the 500 to 800 range, so that was insane. I was really like taking my time to read and analyze and highlight things, and I started like commonplacing. I started writing reviews again on my second website on Sandra's Shelf, so if ever you want to see if I wrote a review on a book, you can go on Sandra's Shelf, or you can find me on Goodreads by Sandra Mixa. I obviously have a author profile because I self-published my poetry last year. Yeah, it was last year. It was like, it's almost 2 years ago. Anyways, crazy. But I just want to say I will be coming back on this channel to announce my 2025 writing and reading goals. I'm going to be filming more, and I'm just, you know, taking the first few weeks of January to focus on my health and my routines, and really trying to focus on what do I want from the rest of my life, but also from like my writing. What do I want to really give my all to and my shot at? Because I feel like every year I put like a million goals on my list and I never end up doing anything because I get so burnt out or so stressed or so chaotic and unorganized. And that's something that I was working through in the last few weeks to months, to get organized, to be more intentional, to really focus on one thing. And I do think, good news, this channel will be the main focus. I've decided for now I'm going to keep everything on this channel that is, you know, writing, reading related. And that means like writing vlogs, reading vlogs, book recommendations, writing advice, writing tips, writing journey, all that good stuff that I really enjoy and I really want to put more time and effort into on this channel. So that's just a sneak peek for the upcoming video of 2025 goals. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this vlog. I know it was a little bit chaotic and all over the place because I was reading a little bit of everything. But yeah, let me know if you read any of these books or from any of these authors. I would love to know. Let me know what are some of your last minute reads for 2024. I hope you're having a wonderful time. Please be safe and, you know, be happy, and your life is not over. Whatever you think, okay, your life is never over. You can always start again. You can always be different, be new. Don't let other people discourage you. Don't let people say, well, you never did your goal in the last few years, you'll never do it. Don't listen to other people. Listen to yourself. You know what you want to do with your life, or if you don't know, you will figure it out. Just experience your life. Write good books, read good books, be surrounded by good people, do good for yourself and do good for others, and you will be just fine. You will actually be brilliant. So I'll see you on the next bookish and writing video. Thank you for being here. Thank you for another year. I love you guys so much. And yeah, bye.